Yes, you mate. You all right? How you doing?
Just let me know if the sound's okay in this, because anytime I'm on a Zoom call, everybody says, "Whoa!" Like the sound's really loud from yours, or so. Just let me know if I'm too loud. Just give us a shout.
Yeah, we'll do, mate. How's it from your end? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. Everything's good, mate. Everything's good.
Brilliant stuff. So, first of all, how are you?
I can't complain really. I've kind of been able to walk through all this, all the COVID stuff, despite being a football coach. Believe it or not, which sounds really, really strange. A lot of it has been working from home. But in the last 6-7 weeks, been going into the schools again, pretty much just supervising, just trying to help the schools as much as we possibly can. Just sitting in classrooms, kids are on their live lessons, earphones, faces, computers, and we're literally just there to kind of just to check over them and stuff like that. So it's can't really complain. But from a personal point of view, the kids are getting homeschooled, wife's doing all that. So I did it for a few weeks. I'm not very good at it. So it was best that I go into work and the wife homeschools the kids instead.
So, from a football point of view, then, is it just, obviously you've got to make some changes, obviously with COVID, but is it just business as usual for you then?
Sorry, Mark, I couldn't quite hear the end of that.
No, I'm just saying, obviously with COVID and that, is it just business as usual?
Yeah. See, yes, I'm a football coach, but we're like a little bit different. We're like not in a professional club or anything like that. We're a private company who we go into schools and pretty much become part of the curriculum. Okay. So we do like 5 hours through the school day, and then the other 5. So the kids get 10 hours of coaching a week, year 7 to year 11. So it's a 5-year program. And it's a case of 5 hours through the school day, 5 hours out of hours kind of. So you get a session in the morning, 8 to 9, or a 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock session. The other ones are just made up of like kids who kind of get out of classes, they come and train, and we treat it like it's a professional academy. So and that's how we run it, and it's been great. I've been doing it for a few years now. I love it.
And how long you been doing it for?
I'd probably say close to about 5 years now. So it's been really good. I kind of fell into it as well because all through my career, back into my career, didn't really have any interest in coaching. As I started to get like to the back end of it, I started really thinking about physiotherapy. Kind of that route. I kind of wanted to stay in the game, but I wanted to stay in a different way. But just by chance, somebody contacted me, said, "Any chance you fancy doing a bit of coaching?" I was a little bit like, I'm not sure. Why I said, "Go on, just give it a go. You might actually enjoy it." First session, absolutely loved it. That was it then. So I was like, it almost became like a second passion, and I've been quite lucky that it kind of just fell on my lap.
So before we get into what you're doing now, we'll talk about your career when you first started. And if I'm not mistaken, you started off at Wolves.
Yeah. So 16 years old, just spotted by Wolves playing back in Ireland. Tournament called the Milk Cup. I don't know. It's changed now. Massive tournament in Colray and County Antrim. Clubs from it's an under-16s tournament. Clubs from all over England, all over Europe, really will participate in it. So it was always a good chance to kind of go there and kind of show kind of yourself off, because you're talking 6-7 scouts always at your games. I went 2 years, which I was quite lucky to. I think that the group we had was like Feyenoord, Everton, teams like that, and you're like, bloody hell. And we held our own against a lot of them teams. It wasn't just myself. There was, a lot of other teammates who had interest from across the water. But it was from that tournament alone where it just seemed to like every scout from England was just kind of knocking on the door, wanting me to go on trial. But Wolves was the ones who really like jumped in first, and that was it for me. Like I went there on trial. In my mind, I was always going to be a footballer. As I wouldn't say I wasn't bad at school, but I was just focused on that kind of thing. I always thought So I started to get a little bit late as I'm like now 16. I've noticed a lot of my mates have now moved over to England, and I quite hadn't. So Wolves pretty much went and trialled there. 2 days into the trial, they'd offered a contract, and I was quite happy to kind of snap the hands off and sign the deal. Despite like other teams really being interested and want me to go there and trial, but I thought if I go to every bloody club and trial, I'll probably miss the year of football. So I thought, that's it, I'm signing. I kind of fell in love with the place anyway after the first day, and I was like, that's it for me. I'm like, I just knew I wanted to be at Wolves.
How would you describe your time at Wolves?
It was what it was. I was a young lad there. I broke into the first team at 17. Made my debut in the. It said that many names. It was, I don't know if it was the Carling Cup at the time or if it was the. Bloody hell, I'm not that old that it wasn't the Coca-Cola Cup. But we played Wickham in the Cup, scored after 5 minutes. So straight away I was already kind of thrown into it. Started to get that little bit of a reputation on, like, this is the next Robbie Keane kind of thing. Completely different type of player. But all of a sudden I started to get this little tag. Next game I played, we played Walsall, massive local derby, home game as well. Usually on a Friday you do a bit of shape and stuff like that. I didn't even know I was in the team until the Saturday. And it was always one thing I always look back and kind of wish I'd have known on the Friday. I was in the team on the Saturday. I probably would, like, mentally I would have been able to like prepare more. I think on the Saturday I can honestly look back and I said kind of the game just passed me by. I was just a little bit like, I don't know, I was 17 years old, so I was kind of almost like a little bit outside my body, like that kind of experience. Can't really remember too much about the game, apart from lobbing the keeper and it getting cleared off the line and the keeper wiping me out. And then the following week, it was a case that they'd signed Adi Akinbaye, Michael Branch, George Ndah, massive names. And then all of a sudden, I've gone from like this almost first choice striker to fifth choice striker kind of thing in the space of a week to 10 days. And I was still young, so I was still like, okay, like I'm quite happy with like traveling, being on the bench, getting the odd run here and there. Kind of never really materialized like that. I was traveling every week kind of with the first team squad. Not quite making the bench. If I'd made the bench, I wasn't getting any minutes on the pitch. So it then becomes a little bit of frustration because all you want to do is play at the end of the day. So, I was playing reserve games. I was doing well. Then I was asking at times, could I go and play for the youth team? Because again, I just wanted to play games at the end of the day because literally that's all you want to do as a player. You train Monday to Friday. You want to play. But I have to be realistic as well that like these were top players. Adi Akinbaye then got sold the following season for $5.5 million because he had such a good season and went to Leicester in the Premiership. And people always remember him Leicester in the Premiership and think, wow, what a bad player he was because he couldn't hit a ball door. If you'd have seen him that season at Wolves, oh my goodness, it was like he was unbelievable. Everything he touched just seemed to end up in the back of the net. Listen, I absolutely love the club. I actually, when I joined Mansfield, I still had 2 years left on my deal. So, and I always remember the manager at the time, not when I got sold at Mansfield, the manager giving my debut, Colin Lee, always said I wasn't going to really develop till maybe the age of 21, 22. But in that moment of time, you just think, I feel ready now. I feel ready now. Like, just, give me that chance and I'll jump in it. What never really happened. I think the following season, I ended up playing, I think, 2 games again. And like one of them was the last game of the season against QPR. Again, whenever I came on, I did well. Gillingham away, came on, did well. Just never enough to be really trusted. Or again, 17-year-old, can't really trust them over lads who have had hundreds of games of in the Championship or Division 1 back then. So I went on loan to Kidderminster for a season. Was Division. It's all changed now, so I can't quite recall, but it would have been what League 2 is now. And had an absolutely, I felt I had a brilliant season. I think I ended up scoring 7 goals. Played most of the time wide of a front three, but just absolutely loved it. I was playing week in, week out, starting every game kind of thing. I had countless assists as well. There was a change of manager at Wolves as well. Dave Jones came in. So I knew then when I was back in the summer, Dave Jones was pushing for promotion. He was thinking Premiership. And I'm like, I'm nearly 19 now at this stage, and I'm thinking, he isn't going to be looking at a 19-year-old kid kind of thing. But I'm still kind of quite hopeful that, maybe like I might be in his plans somewhere. Then obviously I don't think I was, because next thing I know, I've been called into the kind of the chairman's office saying, listen, Mansfield have made a bid for you. So, and we've accepted the bid kind of thing. I was like, no disrespect to Mansfield, I didn't want to go. I'm at Wolves. Yeah. I'm in the Championship. New manager's coming in and he's going to push for the Premiership. I want to be part of that. So I had a chat with the manager, and he was basically just said, like, listen, you're a young lad. From what we heard, you did brilliant last year kind of thing. Are you in my plans right now? No. They have accepted you. I'm happy for you to stay and kind of showcase your thing. And it was a little bit, it's kind of not what you want to hear. No. Whereas I had countless conversations with Stuart Walkers at the time, and he was just like, we want you, you're not guaranteed to play every game, but kind of thing, it's up to you to come and show. Obviously, Chris Greenacre had just left, so they were trying to fill that, like, that gap of someone to come in and kind of hit the ground running and scoring goals. I had interest from Hull as well, because Jan Molby had then gone from Kitty to Hull, so that was a little bit of interest as well. But I ended up going through a meeting, Stu, and it was a done deal. It was a done deal. Then I remember signing, and that was it. Next of all, I moved up to Mansfield and living in a guest house for 3 months. And that was kind of the end of my Wolves career, just like that. So, and like, you always think you're going to stay at one club forever, and I suppose it never really happens.
It must have been difficult for you, obviously, at Wolves, because obviously you want to play there, but managers' plans, obviously you've got to find out ways to try and get played somewhere. So that, looking back on it, it was perhaps a good thing that you did obviously come to Mansfield as well as go out and loads of playing time. Yeah,
definitely. One of the other things that kind of got talked about was going out again on loan for another year. And I was just a little bit like, I don't want to do that. I want to play for my club. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be getting, loaned out again. I know Kitty again were desperate for me to go back for another seasons on loan. I kind of was a little bit, I've done League Two now. And now I want to challenge myself again. Like, if it was going to be a loan, it was going to be a League One team. But you've got Mansfield there now, League One side, just promoted. Such a brilliant young squad as well at the time. And you're just thinking, it's a possibility here. These lads could just go bang. Within the year, you're in the Championship. That was my belief when I went down. And I still think that team should have done a lot more that season. I just think we were 2 or 3 players short early doors that in that season of maybe potentially securing League One status, and then maybe then the following year kicking on again. It just wasn't meant to be. Just wasn't meant to be. But again, back to the Wolves thing, is I remember somebody said, is it a step down for you? Joining Mansfield, coming from Wolves. I was like, it's not. It's a step up in my career. I'm just going to go and sit in Wolves reserves, like playing in front of, one man and his dog kind of thing, or am I going to go play in front of a full house at, a field mill at the time is what it was called, and play in front of potential between 7,000 and 10,000 fans every week. No brainer, absolute no brainer. So and that was it from there.
So, what was your earliest memories of Mansfield, and what did you make of it when you joined?
Obviously, straight away, I had hit the ground running. I think it was 3 goals in 2 games, bang, straight away. Plymouth at home. I think they were one of the favourites to do something. I think they actually ended up doing really well that season, Plymouth, but we actually destroyed them 4-1 first game of the season. Then we go to Wigan next game of the season away. I think I ended up scoring 2 that game. Scott Sellers gets sent off, if I remember rightly, and it was a little bit downhill from then. I think we lost the game 3-2. So you could see, 2 probably the top teams in the division we've played in. We've destroyed one, we've matched their own against another one, who, by the way, had had Nathan Ellerton up front at that stage, who was, you know, £1 million striker, which back in that day was massive money in League One, absolute mental money. Who ended up going to West Brom, I think, and scoring bag full of goals as well. So, and then it just didn't quite work out. I think about the 5th game in, then I ended up getting injured. I think it was against Crewe. And that was kind of it for me. Then it was just, I think it was just a case of like, I backheel the ball. I can't remember if I backheel the ball or if it was a quick sprint. And then it was like, felt something. And then I backheel the ball, thought, hammy there straight away. Couple of weeks, came back, I think a couple of games, I think I scored again. And then again, it was like another hammy. And then I just remember we had a training session and was up on the top pitch, which was nothing like it is now. And, I remember pushing a ball past Matt Gadsby. God rest his soul, obviously passed away quite a few years ago now. Just as I went past him, he turned and kind of leaned on me. And I was just kind of stumbling, but I was trying to keep my feet at the same time. Next thing I knew, the whole hamstring went. Whether it was something that was waiting to happen, I don't know. And then that was it for me. If I remember rightly, it was about 9 months on and off then with the same hamstring problem. So it was, you know, kind of got a little bit of a tag of injury prone, but it was just one of them seasons. I've spoke about it before in the past about we were in a relegation battle. You know, there was not that there was pressure on me. I was putting pressure on myself. I would feel not right, but not too bad. So I would play the game and then maybe get through that game, following game, hamstring gone again. Again, you're looking at another 10 days, 2 weeks. And I remember going, was it Lilleshall? Been to Lilleshall for, I think it was 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It was 3 weeks. Been to Lilleshall for 3 weeks. Loads of rehab. Still didn't quite feel right. They had said to me, right, I want you to go back, kind of loads of rehab. You're probably still another 3 to 4 weeks away. We're playing Blackpool that weekend. Keith Cole's like, how are you? How are you feeling? I said, like, it doesn't feel too bad. Kind of, I was always kidding myself. Like, I knew it wasn't right, but it was like, right. So I remember then ended up, I don't know if I came on, if I started the game. I think I came on, ended up on a great goal. I've wiggled in, little chip round, scored. Then I set up Andy White with a little like sick kick as well. I was like, flipping hell. Like, I shouldn't really be playing, but I played the game. And then I think again, the next game, hamstring goes again. Ended up finishing that season 14 starts. I think I finished with 7 goals, which wasn't a bad return, but I just couldn't, you know, the hamstring again. Then ended up going to Lilleshall again for a further 3 weeks over the summer. We'd obviously been relegated. Pretty crap way of being relegated. I think we went to, I think it might have been Tranmere. I think we got relegated at Tranmere. Flipping idiot climbed up the floodlights, if I remember rightly. Climbed up the floodlights. Game got abandoned, and then we found out anyway after the game we kind of been relegated. So it was like terrible. But we knew kind of the squad that we had, if we were to keep it, next season again was going to be great, kind of thing. But you know, I'd still had the hamstring issue. Managed to get through the summer. Managed to get through pre-season. First game of the season, Kitty away. Sorry, it was absolutely scorching hot. I remember. I just remember about 30 minutes in, chasing down a ball. I just knew that it wasn't right. It wasn't right. You know, I think the physios at the time, Barry Statham, then it was I can't remember Ian's second name. They came in for a little bit of stick, kind of like treatment of the injury and that, and why was I never fit, kind of thing. Don't know. It wasn't even really the hamstring. It was like the sciatic nerve, but it was right at the back of the knee. So that's what was causing the issue. There was like a lot of inflammation there. So I ended up having to go and see a specialist, Brian English. I think he was a Chelsea doctor. Worked with the GB team for the Olympics and stuff like that. And he ended up having 36 injections in lower back, into the glutes, into the hamstrings, and then they didn't even work. I ended up then having 4 epidurals, and that's what worked in the end. There was the epidurals. So something simple as epidurals, if I had 9 months previously, we could be sitting here talking about something differently. You don't know. You don't know. I could have maybe potentially scored more goals, started more games. That first season might have saved us. You never know. You never know. But things happen for a reason, and that's the way it was. So that was kind of like my first season, all in a wrap for me. Just summed up, was just tormented with injury. You'd meet fans everywhere, like, what's up with you? Why aren't you fit? Kind of thing. Your hamstring. Is that not fit? Yeah, you're almost like, I want to be on there, and I really don't want to be injured, kind of thing. But that's the only thing I can say. It was just pure torture that first season.
Must be frustrating. Because obviously, you didn't get many games at Wolves. Obviously, you went out on loan. And obviously, when you get in played, you get injured. It's just typical. Look.
Yeah, any professional will tell you it's the worst part of the game. It's the worst part of the game. Listen, if you're not on the team and you're on the bench or you're not in the squad, you can do something about it. You know what I mean? You can train hard, or you can just make sure you're performing and doing everything you can possibly do to get in that team. When you're injured, you can't do anything about it. You're sat there, the team's getting beat, you're potentially getting relegated, and you're just sitting there thinking, I can't flip it and do anything about this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a whole different type of frustration. There's a lot of talk about the mental side of it as well, of like, fall into that kind of depression state as well. I feel I was quite lucky, and I was never that way. I was always like, I was able to keep myself motivated, just kind of see that target. I suppose it was a case of like, I was always kind of back after 2-3 weeks. Yes, I'd break down again, but I would think, right, 10 days, 2 kind of thing, I'd be fit again. So it was, but yeah, it was torture. But again, I managed to get it right. And funny enough, from kind of when I was right, all the way through to the end of my career, I never had another hamstring injury, believe it or not, which was really, really, really strange. I have to say though, I did lose probably a couple of yards of pace with it, but that's just the way. That's kind of just the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, that's it, mate. So, how would you describe your relationship with Mansfield managers that you played in?
I know what you're leading to, which is great, because we get Stewie Watkins. Absolutely loved him. He was brilliant. Fantastic, Stu. Very good coach as well. I think he's out in India somewhere now. Like, he's coaching out there. He's always remained in football. Actually, a strange story. I was at Chesterfield second season, and Stu was the Grimsby manager. Stu tried to buy me again. Stu put in $100,000 bid for me and tried to buy me, and it never materialised. Truth be told, I ended up staying at Chesterfield because I think Grimsby was League 2, we were League 1 at the time, and I felt I didn't want to drop down the division. Probably a bad choice in the end, but Stewie was great. I was kind of gutted to see him go. However, Keith Cole came in. I knew him personally. He actually gave me my chance in the reserve team at Wolves. So although he was still playing, he was taking reserve team games because he was starting to get into that coaching side of it. And he started playing all the young lads in the reserve team. He didn't want too many first team players because he knew that sometimes the older pros come in and they toss it off a little bit. It's a little bit like, I don't want to be here. Yeah. And then it has a little bit of a negative effect on the kids who then want to be there. You know what I mean? So it kind of spreads around the change room, kind of comes in and says, oh, I'm tired, I can't be arsed today. Before you know it, the whole change room saying it. So that was kind of mentality he has. And when he came in, he was brilliant. He was brilliant. I think he tried to play himself. I don't think he wanted that. I think he had that because I don't think we had that kind of player in place. He ended up signing Reece Day, which was a brilliant signing. Again, signed Reece earlier that season. Again, I think it's a different season. Added loads of good players, Adam Meaton, players like that. Just great signings. Maybe just too late in the season. But Coley again was great. Brought up excellent coaching with John Gannon. John was brilliant. Every Friday morning, get the strikers in a little bit early. Loads of finishing with the keepers. It just kind of made you feel like come Saturday, I was like, I feel great. I feel it. If I get a chance, one chance, I'm going to take it. And I think that was the case in a lot of times through the season, where huff and puff all game, not get a single sniff, and then all of a sudden, bang, one chance comes to you in the back of the net. Islington Christie into the back of the net. You know, even Junior as well, straight in the back of the net. It was just, you know, especially that second season, there was, you look across the front line, you had goals from myself, Islington, Junior, Liam Lawrence was an absolute beast that season. You'd Wayne Corden as well. I think Wayne finished probably double figures with probably double figures assists as well. So all of a sudden you're getting 5-6 players on double figures, scoring goals. Like, you're going to be up there. You're going to be pushing for promotion. But final season, I have to say, you know, Keith Cole went. I felt I was having probably the best season in my Mansfield career. I think by Christmas I had about 10 goals. And change of manager. Coley was out. Next thing, Carlton Palmer was in. My career didn't get off to a great start with Carlton. Straight away, appendicitis. Many people remember, but I'm then off for a month. In the meantime, I think he brings Richie Barker, Paul Warren as well. Listen, I never seen eye to eye with Carlton. It was the two best things he did at the club, bringing Richie Barker and Paul Warren in. I know Warren didn't go on very long, but Richie Barker for Mansfield was, in my opinion, one of the best players ever to play for Mansfield. Absolutely phenomenal. It was just a shame he left in the end, because I think he went to Hartlepool as well in the end after that, and you know, it was just a shame. But came back, was never, not that I wasn't quite fit, but I was kind of thrown a little bit in the deep end. I was just getting back to fitness in terms of like introduced into training. Carlton's mentality was running, loads of running. Lads, make sure they're fit. Now I'm just back fit. And I remember we did a bleep test. I think I finished second last. Believe it or not, Richie Barker finished last in the bleep test. And Richie tell you this day, running wasn't his game. It wasn't his game. Yeah, he would run all day in terms of but in terms of going on a bleep test, it wasn't his. Richie came last. I came second last. And I knew, like, when I'm fit, I'm up there. I'm top 5 lads. Yeah. So I remember him having a pop at me afterwards, and I was like, I'm not fit. Like, I'm getting back fit, kind of thing. And he even had a pop at Paul Maiden, who was the then physio. What's he been doing, kind of thing. I thought, like, a little bit strange. And I knew he'd obviously got rid of lads who weren't his kind of players. So I kind of thought, is this a little bit the beginning of the end for me? Yeah. So, you know, I remember playing in a game, I think it was Rochdale away. Again, just getting match fitness again. Half time, he pulls me off. It's like, what's that for? Yeah. So I was thinking, like, I couldn't quite grasp it. And then he said to me, it was, I didn't support the other side of the pitch or something like that. But then on the Monday, he pulls me and said, Larks, I have to apologise. I watched the video back. I didn't realise. We had a throw in on one side of the pitch. The ball actually gets thrown to me. I set it back to the thrower. It gets played in the midfield and switched out wide to the other side. So it completely transfers the pitch. And he was having a go at me kind of on the Saturday, saying I wasn't on the far side of the pitch to support. And I remember apologised and then saying, you know, I was wrong, kind of thing. So I thought, all right, like fair enough. So things started to slowly change from that. I think all of a sudden I'm starting to get fitter. We're doing running sessions and I'm up there. I'm like, I think he brought a lad called Fraser in, Fraser McLachlan at the time. Fraser could run for days. And I just thought to myself, like, I'm gonna hang on to Fraser in all these running sessions. The next thing you know, I'm there. I'm with Fraser. And I think we played Bristol Rovers away. The game finished 4-4, I think, in the end. And I scored an absolute screamer just after like half time. I think it was a bit of a bad pass across the goal. Comes from the edge of the box, and I hit it first time, and it just goes like like an arrow straight in the far post. He'd actually missed the goal, Carlton, because he was just coming out of the tunnel from the change rooms. It happened that quick after half time. And then I remember Paul Holland, who's like Dutch, who was like U team but kind of moved up with the first team a little bit, had come on the Monday and said, I think he's starting to change his mind, Larks. I think he's going to offer you a deal, like kind of like what's your kind of thoughts? And I was a little bit like, I'm not quite sure, kind of thing. And I remember one of the lads was Tommy Cuttis saying something about, are you just going to like see out your contract and go at the end of the season, kind of thing? And I was like, I didn't really answer. I probably should have just said, well, no, I just like see how it's going to kind of go, but I didn't really answer. I ended up speaking to Carlton. He offered me a new contract. It was a 1-year deal. Bear in mind, I've now got 13 goals. I think it was 12 goals at the time. I'm thinking to myself, a 1-year deal, but he'd offered me like a lot less money as well. Not that it was about money, but thinking, I'm 12 goals here. I'm the top scorer. I think Richie ended up going on and we finished joint top scorer that season. But kind of to my, I'd missed quite a chunk of that season with, being dropped by Carlton, appendicitis. So I was a little bit like, kind of like, no, I won't sign that kind of thing. But I was still under 24 as well. So them offering me less money, I then could go on a free transfer at the end of the season. And I'm thinking, I'm having a good season despite these injuries. I'm having a good season. So worst case scenario, they don't offer anything. I still think I'll be in a good position come the end of the season. We played Grimsby at home. I remember having a bit of a quad issue. I pulled out of training with it. I'll rewind a little bit back to that. I remember getting a dead leg in training. This is kind of where it really started to where the relationship with me and Carlton really broke down. Got a real bad dead leg, right centre of the belly of the quad. From a U team player as well, a little kid called Dom Jones. I remember it turned into him, bang, full pace. Quad swelled up. We've nothing to play for that season at all. Nothing to play for. Season was over, kind of thing. And I think it was the Easter weekend. Was it Easter weekend? I can't remember, but we played. It was Kidderminster. And bear in mind, I've scored 2 against Kidderminster early in the season. My old team. It's away as well. If there's anyone who wants to be on that pitch against Kidderminster, it's me. But I knew I wasn't doing myself justice. I wouldn't be fit. I would have been limping around the pitch as well. And it was probably an excuse for them to drag me off as well. Or use it as an excuse, kind of thing. So I didn't actually play in the game. And I kind of remember him saying, I've never known a player to miss a game with a dead leg. A funny story. I remember then a week later, sitting on Sky Sports and Teddy showing a missed a dead leg, which I thought was quite funny. But again, the beginning of the end. I think it's just like, can you hear me there, Mark? Because it's saying my internet connection's unstable. It's gone now. I'm all right. Cheap internet, pal. Sorry. So then I think coming up to it, then we played Grimsby at home. I think we won the game 3-1, but there was a ball over the top, and I'm chasing it, and it looks like I'm going to get there. The keeper's coming out, and I pulled up with my quad, so the keeper then wins the race. I have to come off then. I've literally pulled my quad. You could see the lump in it as well. And I remember after the game having a go at me in front of all the lads as well. Just kind of, we won the game 3-1. I was like flipping out. Where's this come from? And he stood there having pointing at me, getting in my face, pointing having a go at me, kind of saying, almost saying I'm fearing injury. He's saying, you pulled out of that. You see, you pulled out of that tackle, kind of thing. I was like, what you want about? So I pulled up on my quad. So I blew, you then trying to say it was a dead leg. No, I've actually pulled my quad. So it was a little bit of going back and forth. And then he just went out the change rooms and then up to his room. And I thought, I'm not having that kind of thing. I'm not having that. So I followed him up into the change room, into his office. To be fair, we had a bit of a discussion. I thought everything was sorted. I thought it was again, I got you wrong, Lark. Sorry. You pulled your quad. It wasn't a thingy. I remember getting home And my neighbour then, who was massive Mansfield fan, good friend as well, rings me and he says, "Hey, did you hear him on the radio?" I was like, "No." He was like, "He literally said you'll never play again for Mansfield." Like, what? Like, he literally said on the radio, like, "Yeah, Colin Larkin's kind of like feigned injury. He'll never wear a jersey for Mansfield ever again." I don't know if like many people remember that, but yeah, I was like, flipping hell. I was, it took me like really aback, and I was like, bloody hell. So I remember then going in on a Monday. But in the meantime, I think there was only about 7 weeks left of the season. There'd been other things true then where he tried to get me out to Boston. I remember speaking to Steve Evans on the phone and just basically saying to Steve, like, "Steve, I'm not interested. I want to stay here and fight like for a starting place." And Carlton and Keith Haslam was sat behind me, like they were like, Carlton was in front of me. I'm on this phone. I think they bid £50,000 for me, and I was just like, "I'm not, Steve. Sorry, but I'm not going anywhere," like, kind of thing. So, and I knew they weren't happy about that, because I think that 50 grand was to pay for somebody else to come in. That was a little bit earlier in the season, but that was kind of it for me. So I never really had that send off. I did in the end, but with that season, it was a little bit like, that's it now. Season's done. Won't play a game again. I'm just going to have to turn up and train every day. Which I was a true pro. I did. I turned up. I had the train with you team. I remember we played Notts County away once, and it was after this is what I was getting at. Sorry, with the contract thing, where he'd offered a new contract. We played Notts County away on the Saturday. I think we'd lost, but me and Wayne Corden were in the starting lineup on the Friday. On the Saturday, we got told, "You aren't coming. You're going to do running around the pitch." Me and Corden was like, "What the hell's happening?" I was like, "Is the gaffer Bell? I just want to have a chat with him," kind of thing. And no, you can come in tomorrow morning, meaning on a Sunday morning, potentially your day off. Like, fine, I'll come in. I need to know, like, kind of why. So he said, "Oh, you were heard saying you were going to see out your contract and just go on a free." Like, them words never came out of my mouth, which they didn't. They never ever once came out of my mouth. I said, "We were actually in discussions about a new contract. Would I sign it?" I said, I wasn't really giving anything away, kind of thing. I said, until I'd spoke with you. I said, but yeah, I wasn't going to sign a contract that you offered, because it was obviously a 1-year deal and much less money. So there had been other stuff. I just felt, total respect for him as a player. What he did as a player, unbelievable. He played in the top division for so long. He's a bloody England international. I just felt his man management of players was different. Again, it might have been that, elite mentality where he's played in such a high division, came there and was expecting more and just couldn't deal with that. But never once did I not turn up for training and give everything. That's for every club as well. Any club I turned up for, I put the jersey on. I paid for the jersey. I paid for my teammates. I never needed to play for a manager. I paid for myself. I paid for my teammates, and that was it. And I always gave everything. But it was just a shame that that's kind of how it ended, and it almost like had a little bit of like, just left a little bit of bad taste in your mouth, kind of thing. And then I signed for Chesterfield then after that. So I don't think that really went down well, but it was League One. We'd been relegated, or not? We were League Two. It was a chance to jump up the division, and not move house. I was settled in Mansfield. My daughter was born in Mansfield, and I loved the area. So I had a chance to go to Chester City, where Keith Cole was now the manager, and I opted not to. For me, it was about playing as high as I possibly could, and Chesterfield offered that. But again, that was the end of my journey at Mansfield, which was really frustrating, and I really didn't want it to end that way. I would have, had the deal been right, I would have signed it, because that's how happy I was at Mansfield, kind of prior to Carlton coming in. But that's just the way it goes. Sometimes it's a ruthless business, and as much as managers and chairman's got to make bad decisions or ruthless decisions, players have to too. Yes, I was a Mansfield player, but I had to start thinking about myself and my family, and the best move for me was Chesterfield. It might not have went down well, but it was the best thing for me at the time.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, just talking about some of your moments at Mansfield. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Huddersfield game. How was that to play in?
Unbelievable experience. Nerve-wracking. I didn't start the game. Again, you take it on the chin. You get on with it. You support the lads, but the whole time you're just itching. And I want to get on. And I knew Curly would put me on. I just didn't know when. But the whole time I was itching. I can't even remember too much about the game up until the point I come on. I remember coming on. I was a little bit of a one. Tried to take up ball past someone, going for slide tackle with it. I've got a dead leg now as well. I remember then turning into Effie Sodje. I think I knocked him unconscious with a shoulder. He's now stretched off as well. Mm-hmm. Should have scored. Wayne Corden, if you watch the game back, Wayne Corden puts an unbelievable ball in. Mm-hmm. I beat the offside trap. I'm on my own, just to and all I tried to do was glance the header. And all it really needed was connection, because the keeper had come out to catch it. Mm-hmm. And all it needed was connection. But you're watching the ball, I couldn't see the keeper. So all I was trying to do was just a bit of a glance, put it in the bottom corner. I ended up not just kind of pulling back a little bit too much. And you talk, and it's like that much off my forehead. And I still watched that back. I thought, you idiot, you should have flipped and scored, because that would have been it. That would have been game over there and then. But then we get to what, 88, 89th minute. Mm-hmm. My opinion, still a goal. Yeah. I don't know if it's been proved still. Where was VAR back then? Yeah. As much as I hate it, it would have come in really handy back then. But it's a great ball in from Tommy Cuttis that goes right to the back post. Mm-hmm. And Lauren Jaffa just little nudge back, and I seen it happen almost before it happened. Yeah. I just knew Lauren was going to just flick it back, and I was just going to meet it. Mm-hmm. Didn't even catch it clean. It's one of them. I probably caught it clean. Mm-hmm. I might have struck it wide. Keeper might have saved it. I end up not catching it as clean. It goes in the net, and I'm off. I'm celebrating. And when at about half a second, I'm not celebrating, and I'm swearing at the referee. For a start, I thought, what was it given offside? Mm-hmm. But then we later found out it got given for a goal kick. But to go from such a major high, to have to quickly switch back on because the game's on again. Yeah. Was wow. It was a split second as well. I'm feeling all this elation. My family had come over from Ireland. They were all in the crowd, and I was there. I was gone for there. We're over by the corner flag, and I was going to run around the back of the goal. I was jumping the fence. I was into the crowd. That's where I was going. Didn't care. Took the book in the lot. But obviously, that's the way it went. Extra time was a little bit of kid. I think they went close a couple of times in extra time, but it was a case of nobody really, really wanted to go for it. In case nobody wanted to really counter attack. In case you left yourself short at the back, and then the quick counter attack from then, and it was just it was a little bit safe, and everybody I think was a little bit. This is going penalties. You could sense it on that pitch as well. This is almost, it was let's get the penalties kind of thing, because we felt Pilks would save one, and we would score our penalties. Mm-hmm. But it's the luck of penalties, and it's the way it goes. I think on the day, if you watch back, the lads who missed all went the same way they did in the semi-final. And it was something maybe we never really thought about. Keeper would have been watching the videos. We all know Liam obviously tried to dink it down the middle. Loads of people always say, were you not fuming at him? Were you not fuming? No, I wasn't fuming at him. If it wasn't for Liam, we potentially wouldn't have been there. Yeah. Some of the goals he had that season, it was 20 odd goals that season, free kicks, free kicks just popping up beautiful goals, like cutting in, bending them in top corners, and endless amount of assists as well, by the way. What a player he was. But, you know, listen, Liam might regret it, thinking, I don't know if he's ever like kind of spoke to him about it. Never really bothered me that he missed. There was, you know, other lads on the day that missed. I was last up. So, you know, that could have been me. I could have missed.
Yeah.
And that's it's just the way it goes sometimes. You know, if he doesn't think it as much, it goes straight down the middle of the goal and into the net. He just caught it too much and it thinks onto the crossbar.
Yeah.
And that was it. Pilks never saved the penalty neither. So, because all their penalties were absolutely fantastic penalties. Mm-hmm. You know, and Pilks was one of them lads I was really, really gutted for come that final whistle. Because his dad had died through that season as well. And it was a major blow. It wasn't just a major blow to Pilks, it was a major blow to the lads. Because we've got our captain as well, who was like, you know, such a big player for us to go through that, but still be able to play through that as well, and then not get the reward at the end was like, I remember him sitting at the goalpost, you know, and he was just distraught. He was there, and I'm going up to him and just like saying, listen, your dad be so proud of you, man. Like, it wasn't meant to be. And that's just the way it goes sometimes. It's horrible, but when you win on penalties, it's the most amazing feeling ever, which we experienced in the semi-final. It's, you know, unbelievable. So can't complain.
Yeah, I mean, it's really frustrating that season because obviously we had such good players that season. It was really unlucky that we didn't go up because, like I say, we had the quality up front just all around the pitch with him. That was probably, you know, it must have been frustrating, obviously, playing a part of that as well. Obviously, you know, we could have done a lot more that season.
Definitely 100%. If you look back at that squad, you think, how did that squad not just get automatic promotion?
Yeah.
There was just some games in between where we just didn't perform, just didn't, you know, get the result on the day. Mm-hmm. Again, that's just how it is. Usually, so over the course of the season, that's the table usually is never far wrong. Over the course of the season, where you get lucky in some games, you don't get lucky in other games. But you got to look at players we had: Bobby Hassel, like Liam Lawrence, Wayne Corden, Lee Williamson, Craig Disley. Bloody hell, I could keep going. Lads who then, I think I remember doing an interview at the end or after the playoff final, and I just said, like, the worrying thing for me now is a lot of this squad is going to leave because there's such good players that want to play at a higher level, and there's going to be teams after them. And lo and behold, Liam Lawrence has gone to Sunderland. You know, I can't remember where Diz went, but Bobby Hassel ends up at Barnsley. There was just players, it just gone like that, and the following season we never really got players back in their place. I think we signed Alex Neil in the pre-season and Chris Tate. Alex Neil was unbelievable signing, like brilliant. But you're talking, we lost a massive amount of lads there in that squad, and we never replaced half of them, I don't think. Or if we did, we just didn't replace them with as much quality, if you know what I mean. And like, without being disrespectful to those lads, but we had top players there, real top players. If they'd have stopped on the following season, no doubt in my mind, we probably would have won that league. It was just another year on because you got to remember, still really young lads. Bobby Hassel was still young. Diz, Lee, Liam, myself, we were still under the age of like 23. We were all like still 21, 22. So Reece Day, young lad. Adam Eaton was still quite young. All of a sudden, you've got Alex Baptiste in there, Jake Buxton in there as well. 17 years old. You know what I mean? So you're like, flipping hell. Just, we would have been a year more experienced, an extra 30 games under your belt. I think the experience of losing in the playoff final, like, would have really boned out a lot of lads, and it would have came back the following pre-season I did. I remember came back that pre-season, and I'm ready for this kind of thing, and I just couldn't wait for the season to get started again. So yeah, that was just me, because you never really you think about things when you but to really delve deep back into it, you start storing up stuff, and you're like, flipping hell, yeah, what a squad that was.
So do you still stay in touch with your players from that time?
A lot of lads, you go on to different clubs. That's it. You stay in touch with them whenever you see them. Adam Eaton, all the time. He was probably my best mate when he came. We lived in the same estate in Shirebrook. We just formed just such a good friendship. I went to his wedding, and later on, when I'd moved, I was in Northampton at the time. We still stay in contact. We'd actually arranged early last year to go to a Mansfield match. We'll go to a Mansfield match. We'll stop down the night. We'll have a bit of crack. We'll have go have a bit of a drink and stuff like that. But obviously, COVID's put a big dent in all those plans. But we're really trying to do it. What we're hoping to, when all's well and good, and we can get back into football stadiums watching football again. It's something we want to do. We want to just get back in and just get back there and watch a game, and I don't know, just go out and just have a bit of a night out as well, because we were prone to a little bit of a night out back in the day as well. Back before there was phones and you could do it.
Yeah, it's to say it was only obviously the game's changed so much on it, really, though. Since.
Yeah. It's a massive contrast from where I was at 2021 to where lads are now. If you even watch them on the TV now, everything's they can't get away with anything. They got to do this now when they're speaking to each other. Yeah. It's absolutely mental. But not that we got up to anything real bad, but it was just a case of if you go out nowadays, someone's trying to flip and film you, and you don't have to, if they're trying to film you to provoke you or spark a reaction off you, and then all of a sudden you're on flipping Twitter on, look at this cloud professional footballer tag again kind of thing, when it's always a one or two that maybe spoil it for the rest kind of thing. But it's just there was none of that back in our day. So yeah, that sound really old saying it back in our day. I sound really old, but it was. But just Mansfield, you go out on a night out, everybody knew you. You know what I mean? You go in anywhere kind of thing, not just on a night out. I don't know why I keep saying night outs. You walk down the town with your wife and kid and that, and it was people are stopping you. You know what I mean? It's every club after I went, I never experienced that. Mansfield was just different. It's just such a massive football town, and I used to always say to at Mansfield, you were it was so big and so popular, the football. You were their kind of Wayne Rooney. They're David Beckham, because they just supported Mansfield. They didn't support Mansfield when Liverpool's not playing kind of thing, or when I'm a Forest fan, but I go to Mansfield. Yeah. These were to die kind of thing. So and you'd walk down the street and there'd be people stopping you, talking to you. Oh, you did great. The older folk would say, you were crap on Saturday, we need better kind of thing. I wouldn't be afraid to tell you. And you're totally that's completely fine. But again, I said, never experienced that after that in any football club, which says a lot about Mansfield and the fans themselves, an awful lot.
I was going to ask you there, you just touched on it there, Bill. So you got on great with the fans then. Obviously, were you saying that, just everybody just knew you and just spoke to you then?
It was great. Again, just the worst part of it was never really getting that sending off game where, it was my last game. I knew it was going to be my last game. And that was it. It was just, you go and sign with Chesterfield and I've just left there on a bad note. You know what I mean? And funny enough, I ended up going back. I was on trial at Hartlepool. We played Mansfield pre-season. That was the only game I played for Hartlepool pre-season. I managed to score, and it got me a 2-year deal at Hartlepool, believe it or not. But then at the end of Hartlepool, it was Rhys Day's testimonial, and I came back from Rhys Day's testimonial. I played for the Legends team, so I played for the Legends team. I played centre midfield. I had a whole year out with injury. I'd had a real bad IT band injury where I had to have it released from the bone. Missed a full season, didn't play a single game. I wasn't even supposed to play in that game. I was supposed to wait another 3 weeks before I could even start contact. But it was the summer. I thought, I'm not missing Rhys's game. I'm not missing it. I thought if I start to feel it a little bit, that's it. Well, I played centre midfield. And I remember doing really, really well. It was about a day or two later, Mez, the kit man, texted me and said, Paul Cox is interested in signing you. I was like, oh, all right. I was like, well, I'd kind of been invited back to Hartlepool. My deal was up. I'd had a year out with injury. A new manager had come in and he'd said, listen, I haven't seen you. I can't give you a contract. I haven't seen you. I want you to come back pre-season. Everybody speaks highly of you, but I want you to come back pre-season and I'll have a look at you. And I'd said to him, like, I don't want to kind of come back. And then at the end of whatever, you say to me, I don't have a budget. I said, I'd rather know now. I'm not in your plans. I'll go elsewhere. So ended up like a little bit of like chasing kind of thing. So spoke with Mez. He's definitely interested. I've literally just come out of his office. He's going to give you a ring, going to give you a call. Adam Murray as well, like singing your praises. Call never came. To the point where Mez passed on to Paul Cox's number. And I was there. I was actually, bear in mind, I'm now leaving Hartlepool, League 2. League 1. It was League 1 at the time we've been relegated. League 2 to go into the conference because I wanted to go back to Mansfield to a club where I was comfortable at. I knew the kind of, and just what the club was about. I just felt I would have gone back there and really excelled again. And I'd contacted Paul myself, just basically left a voicemail, even sent him a text message, said, listen, I'm really interested. I'd love to come back and play for the club kind of thing. And he never followed it up. So that was a little bit, thought, well, potentially could have went back. And, I think they ended up getting promoted that season. Maybe not, maybe the season after. But I ended up signing for Lincoln that season. And actually tried to move back to Shirebrook. So that just goes to show how much I actually thought of the town itself. Gone back, signed for Lincoln, but I wanted to live in Mansfield. I knew it. I was familiar with the area. My daughter was born there. I was just like, I had just felt at home. Area I was trying to move back in, it was the exact same area that I was before. I still have friends there. I still keep in contact with to this day. Came up to my wedding as well. So, and I just love the area. I have to say, like, I'm settled where I am now, but for me to get up and move now, it would have to be somewhere like Mansfield where I'm familiar with the area, and I really, it'd have to be something like that would pull me away from moving where I am now. But again, if you probably look at my Facebook account, I would say half my friends are from Mansfield. They're all either friends from Mansfield, Mansfield fans, or you know what I mean. I take a little bit of pride in that, despite how it ended. That's kind of the impact I had on a lot of people. Anybody who knew me when I was there, I had time for everybody. I wasn't, not that there was many players that came to Mansfield that were big time, or I was, I'd stop and speak to anybody, sign the programs, run out straight onto the pitch, over to the fans, sign the programs, pictures, shake hands, everything, just that kind of thing. So people message me on Facebook. You've seen it yourself. I'm not just going to not reply. I always reply to everybody. So and that's kind of who I am. And I think that went a long way with Mansfield, with the Mansfield fans. So, and I just re-implement that. I take pride in that. Really, that's the impact I had.
Yeah, I can remember it because I was relieving at the time, and I was just started obviously to get into Mansfield, and I can remember just everyone that mentioned you. So obviously he was like a massive hero to everyone, growing up and that. As a Mansfield fan.
Yeah, it's just I loved my time there. I have to say it was brilliant. And it was just a shame it came to an end like that. I have to say they are still one of the teams I look out for. I can't say that about every team, but they are one of them teams I look out for. And I'm glad they're back in the Football League. Hopefully they stay there. I think they've had some managers in the last few years, probably too many. So hopefully just get a nice grounding now. Somebody stays in for the long run and really pushes on and takes the club back to that League One level, pushing hopefully Championship level. Every fan just wants to see their team in the Premiership, and I would love nothing more to be sitting one day telling the kids that I played for Mansfield, despite them being in League One and League Two, but they're playing in the Premiership now. The kids I'll be telling the kids I played for Mansfield in the Premiership. So that's what I'm hoping they get. Because it's such a good club, and the people in the club as well. Not like fans are brilliant, but the staff inside the club as well. Like Michael Merriman, the groundsman, absolutely unbelievable. His son now works there also. I think Mez was everything then. I think he was kit man, he was groundsman, he was receptionist, he was mascot. He was one of them lads who was just brilliant. And Mez is one of them lads that throw a message to every now and then as well. But for people like that, I would just love to see them, having massive days every week, which is playing against Newcastle, Liverpool, Man United. It's just, I know it's a dream, but you got to have it. They've been lucky in the past to draw big teams in the cup. I think actually the FA Cup game we played I was at Lincoln. We played and the next round was Liverpool at home. I think we drew the first game. At Lincoln, if I remember rightly. And then the home game was funny because I'd scored a hat-trick the previous week, but then everybody started the game. I came on the last flipping 10 minutes. I was absolutely raging as well. But the game, I think the game finished 3-2, but I think we went 1-0 up, Adam Smith, and then it was 3-1. I thought it was maybe 2-2, and I think scored right at the end. And then I came on after that, and I was a little bit like, the game's over kind of thing, you know what I mean? So just wanted to get on earlier. And then you get Liverpool in the next round, which was, I know Mez himself is a massive Liverpool fan, so just for him it was unbelievable. And I feel like Mansfield needs more days like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, since obviously you played, obviously we've got a new training ground now. Just so much has started changing within the club. I mean, off the pitch we've got things in place. It's just on the pitch where we've just always struggled. For whatever reason, we've just always managed to just, like I say, struggle with recruit. I think recruitment's a big thing as well.
Yeah, it's major. I don't know what kind of what the recruitment policy is in there, but I think you need to look at the teams that have done it, like Lincoln. I know when I was there, just that club, now to when I was there, which is only probably maybe 8 years ago, major difference. I think the Curleys came in there and changed that club around from top to bottom. The whole recruitment process was everything to them. What players came in. I think Brentford do a little bit something similar. But again, it's trying to keep your players instead of selling them. That's the problem. But like you said, first and foremost, you got to get everything in place first. training grounds, get everything like that sorted, because then that will start to attract the better player, if you know what I mean. All of a sudden, when the player comes in, he looks around, flipping, look at this is brilliant. This is a League Two side, this is a League One side. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, they're like, this is where I want to be. Now, when you don't have all that down, believe it or not, when I first turned up there, outside the stadium, you had that really old, horrible, sandy, like AstroTurf, had holes in it everywhere. And then above that, there was a training pitch that really wasn't a training pitch. It had divots everywhere. We were like going another place to train. Just trying to think what. But that was just like an everyday thing. Yeah, I didn't care. I loved it. Again, Saturday, it was all about the Saturday, playing in week in, week out. But now they've got the whole youth set up and everything. It's just everything's in place. But again, it's like you said, that all that's kind of irrelevant then if you're not getting results on the pitch, because that's all everybody ever sees or all everybody ever cares about. And it's like we say to the young players, like, you can be the best player Monday to Friday, but it's what you do on a Saturday that really counts. That's why it's really, really important that Monday to Friday you're doing everything you possibly can to make sure that on that Saturday for 90 minutes you're in like your peak condition, and you leave nothing to chance. You can't always guarantee a performance, but you can guarantee to like just give everything on that pitch, and that's like that's kind of like everything. And that's, in my opinion, that's the Mansfield way. That's when I came there. That's how it was. Listen, give everything you've got. If you hit the brick wall after 60 minutes, don't care. Give it to me. I get somebody else on to replace you. And I think they lost a little bit of that later on through the years. Again, could have been recruitment process. And it's all about bringing in the right players. It's not all about bringing in the best players, because sometimes the best players don't fit.
No.
They don't fit how the Mansfield way is, or how the manager wants to play. It's about getting the right fit, and who's going to fit in this club, who's going to fit in this squad, who's not going to disrupt it, who's going to enhance this squad in the changing rooms. I remember listening to Andy Robertson in a podcast about Liverpool, and he talks about that 1%. That 1% could be the difference on a match day on a Saturday, where I know that Liverpool have brought in a throw-in coach, a set-piece coach, because not to just score goals from, but to retain possession from. And if that gives you that extra 1%, that's everything. Like, you know what I mean? That could be the extra 1 point you need come the end of the season to get you into the automatics, into the playoffs, to save you from relegation, whatever it is. But that's kind of what you need to kind of start looking at. I'm pretty sure that the manager are doing that down there. I personally think that they seem to be doing a decent job. It's all about finding that stability. Because like I've just said before, there's been chop and change. And, I think Paul Cox was there for quite a few years.
Yeah.
He was successful. But again, I suppose you've got to be successful to kind of, breed that longevity of like staying as the manager. But in the meantime as well, you need that time as well to really implement of like what your philosophy is and how you want to run that club.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just got a couple of questions here for some Mansfield fans, actually, because I wanted to post up saying that I was interviewing you, and like, no one the fans just like said, right, put questions down straight away. So even now,
brilliant. Fire away, Mark.
Right, first one's from Sean. Did you like the Super Colin Larkin song?
Loved it. This is funny, right? Because you're talking, it's 10 years down the line. We play against Wrexham, and the big Dave Artell's playing centre half. He still calls me Super. He doesn't call me anything else. He calls me Super. Adam Eaton calls me Super. I still get. Is it Sean? By the way, is that Sean Beastall? By the way,
yeah, it is. Yeah.
See, how did I know that was Sean? Because every now and every now and then on Facebook, Sean will just put a random super Colin Larkin. I always give him a big thumbs up. I just knew for some reason that would be Sean. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. That might be funny. Who doesn't love the crowd singing the name? It was even better when you could repair them and score the goal. And then, when you've scored, listen, they're going to be singing my name there any minute. And that was it. Whenever you did something good, the crowd, that was the best thing about the Mansfield fans. Like, they seen the effort you put on every day on that pitch. And if you were scoring goals as well, you were easily a favourite. So yeah, I did really enjoy the show. But again, yeah, I still get called flipping super from players that I played with.
Who was your favourite player growing up?
Who was my favourite player growing up?
Yeah, like who you looked up to?
Gaza was the man. That was my little bit of era growing up. Just Gaza, everything he did, he was unbelievable. I remember I used to then watch, Channel 4, Serie A, would stay up and watch him, playing in the Italian league. But, I'm a Tottenham fan. I say I'm a Tottenham fan, but I think when you end up playing football as a career, you tend to not really have a team and you follow your own teams that you played for. Yeah. But, growing up, I was Tottenham, and he was just magician, wasn't he? He had his problems, but anybody who kind of knows me knew I was a bit of a prankster in the changing room as well. So a lot of it stemmed from that. I think that's where the admiration came, because he just loved to play a prank. And you always see when people tell stories about him, they just light up because they just know the story's going to be funny, and you just know it's a Gaza story. I'm listening. You know what I mean? Anybody says I've got a Gaza story for you, you're not turning away from me. You're listening to it. But he matched it on the pitch. He was just a little genius on the pitch. He had everything: passing, could dribble, tricks, could tackle as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not in semi-finals of World Cups, but it's just a shame that he had his problems. But a lot of people have problems. His way of dealing with it was training and playing. And then when that came to an end, he just couldn't manage it. He just couldn't manage it. And I think back then we didn't have what we have now. All this support in place from the PFA, from all the different campaigns as well. It just wasn't there. But it is now, which is brilliant. Brilliant. But Gaza, and then I have to just give it a Michael Owen was then another one. But I was already playing by then, but he was just one of them players who I thought I kind of based my whole position on kind of how he was about. I just playing on the shoulder. He was just the best at it. Just anything that was played through ball, he was on it. And he was quite similar. He had his hamstring injuries, and he was saying, by 22, he lost not all of his pace, but he lost quite a bit of his pace. So, but really, Gaza and then Michael Owen, definitely.
Another question: who did you like playing with up front at Mansfield?
I've got to give Eisden a shout here. Eisden was just quality. Everybody says he was a strange lad. Let's be honest. He was a strange lad. He wasn't the most talkative lads. Never really smiled much. He'd be one of them lads. If you fell over and hurt yourself, he'd laugh. That was Eisden. But I got on really, really well with him. He was one of these. If he didn't like you, he wouldn't talk to you. Eisden. That's how he was. There was kind of no BS with him. But I got on really well with him. And I think we formed a really good partnership when we played together. And we scored some goals. But how prolific was he when he played? By the way, he was so unusual. It was unreal. We get told all this nutritious stuff, you gotta drink 2 liters of water, you gotta eat pasta, you gotta eat this before a game. Eisden would turn up late for a game. He'd pull up in the bloody warm up. He'd had KFC for pre-match as well. he had to stop for KFC at the services or something because he lived in Coventry.
Yeah.
I bowled up and scored a hat-trick or four. I think it was, I can't remember what game it was. He flipping scored 4 goals. I think he turned up late for the game. I think it might have been Colchester. Turned up late for the game and scored 4 goals. And so this flipping guy's not real. He's not real. You know what I mean? But yeah, listen, I had great strike partners there. Like big Andy White, brilliant. Win all the headers, and I would just gamble off them. Junior Mendes was a similar type player to me. You know, just quick, grafted, and just looked at getting in over the top through balls kind of thing. But Eisden edged it for me. Eisden edged it. In terms of actual best player who I played with at the club, I just loved playing with Wayne Corden. Even when you weren't playing, you just loved Wayne Corden. You could just sit there and just watch him all day. You just thought, ooh, full back, he's in for it today. Even if it was a young lad making his debut for the other team, you just thought, oh, poor kid's never going to play a game ever again. He would have just, his legs would have been in knots. He would just chop. Don't get me wrong, at times it was frustrating because you're making movements in the box. You're thinking, when's he going to put the ball in? He's chopped again. And before you know it, the ball was in the box, it was on your head, goal. And but yeah, I could name a lot of players for you there, but Eisden as the strike partner, but I would say Cords as an overall player.
Who would you say is your toughest opponent that you faced in your career?
Who I faced against?
Yeah.
Ooh, just now you've given me one now. One player. Don't get me wrong. I played against Premier teams in the cups and stuff like that, where you're talking top players, but didn't play against them regularly enough to kind of. If I'm being honest, every time I played against a Prem team, I actually did really, really bloody well and scored goals. That's why I always thought I should be playing in the Prem because every time I play against a team, I score a goal. But when we played Swansea, centre half called Izzy Rickpen, he was at West Ham as a kid. Then he went there. He was like 6'4", 6'5". He was absolutely massive. Legs were massive. He was quick as well. I was just thinking, it was just one of them things. I could catch him out with me movement at times, but in terms of like physicality, in terms of speed as well, he just kind of had it. And it's just like, I'm gonna have to be a little bit more cleverer today when I was playing against him. And by the way, he was nasty as well. I think when we played Swansea away before the new stadium, and I remember it was him that actually he fish hooked Eisden. I don't know if people might remember. It was a massive 22-man brawl on that pitch. I think Eisden got sent off. He ended up doing that to Eisden, and Eisden bit his finger.
Oh, right.
Before I knew it, everybody's in. There was punches. There was everything. It was brilliant. Don't get me wrong. It was brilliant. I think Eisden sent off first half. We then go in at half time, and Crowley locked the door of the change rooms. He wouldn't let us out. He says, I'm just going to like really pee him off. He said, they're going to wait for us until we go back out. I think Swansea had been waiting on the pitch for ages. The referee was blowing his whistle, banging the door. We ended up going, I think we maybe got a little bit of a fine for that as well. But I think 2 players ended up getting sent off that day. I don't know who the other player was. Someone will have to probably remind me. But I just remember he was just horrible. I remember then I played for Chesterfield against him as well. The ball came into me and it was just a little bit of a flick on. And as I flicked it on, he was just coming to the side of me temple, headbutt as well. And I remember getting up I was like this big flipping lump across my head like that. He knew what he was doing. You just knew you were getting elbow in the back of the head. You were getting nipped from like set pieces when he was next to you. I have to say him. Definitely him. There was other lads who, I've got scars on the back of my calves from, but he was just one of them. As you just thought, just try and avoid him today. Just try and go unscathed today, kind of thing. And if you nick a goal, brilliant. I don't think I ever scored past him either, which is frustrating. But yeah, definitely him. He's probably one googling up on. But yeah, he was a bit nasty.
What was the local derby like to play under as well?
I played in one, and it was the home game, and we lost, and it was frustrating. And it was my first game in senior football, playing in like a real derby, like nitty gritty. I think it was an early kick-off as well. We lost 2-1. I mean, mate Gaz Davies, who plays for Chesterfield, played for Chesterfield. I think he scored the winner. And I was just like, kind of never want that feeling again. Didn't probably realise, because you obviously watch TV and you see Liverpool, Everton, Celtic, Rangers, all those kind of big derbies.
Yeah. But
you just don't realise it, because you just think, it's Mansfield, Chesterfield, League One. It was major. It was major. Fans were unhappy, needed that game. But I remember the Turn game. I was injured, but I remember when we beat him 2-1 and Dizza flying around the place with his top off, swinging it left, right, and centre. I think Dizza scored the winner, didn't he? Was it Dizza that scored the winner?
Yeah.
Craig Disley. I think Liam scored the first. Dizza scored the winner.
Yeah.
I still think it's still talked about to this day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I don't think we'd won there for so many years, and it was such a great result. I was just gutted I wasn't involved in it. I was injured. But what an atmosphere! What an atmosphere that was that day. And again, I was just buzzing for the lads, especially the local lads who grew up kind of knowing what that was about. And it meant so much more to them. And I started to feel that, and, it was great. It was great. So, but I had only one experience of it, and it wasn't a good one.
So just last question there, Colin. What was the best goal you scored at Mansfield?
Yeah, I've been asked this before. There's two. So I think one is, I can't really count the Man City one in a pre-season game against David Seaman. It was a good volley, and I loved it, and I live off it. I always tell the young lads, I scored against David Seaman on his Man City debut, and I would give it a little sniff as well. Like, kind of, I've got the goal on my phone as well, so I always whip it out and show them as well. But I have to say the best one I probably scored was, I think it was Chester away in my final season. It was early doors, early. I think Kiko would have been still the manager. Just before the halfway, just in our own half, get control of the ball, do like a little step over, and send the defender to run wrong way. I then end up like going on a little bit of a 25-30 yarder, sprinting with the ball. Defenders are backing off. Midfielders are like quicksand. And I end up just letting it go from about 25 yards out, and it just sails in the top corner. I thought, like, when you just hit a shot and it leaves your foot.
Yeah.
You know it's going in before it's even in. That's probably the best one. However, in terms of just feeling and just like elation and just everything all at once, has to be the playoff semi-final. And as much as it's a plain old penalty, putting a penalty in that, I just remember like scoring it, running, and then it was chaos. It was just absolute melee of fans just jumping on the pitch. I think it took us about 10-15 minutes to get back to the change room, because remember Pilks had a hold of me as well. Reese has a hold of me, but there's just millions of fans having a hold of us then, kind of thing. And it was like, we were just trying to get back to the changing rooms, and it was, what a night that was. And all from it was, if you remember the game, it was a tough game. We were sailing with 2-0 from the first leg, and then all of a sudden we're 3-2 down, and we're like, what the hell's happening here? Tommy Cutter's great finish, and then for me to take all the kind of reward from it, from scoring one bloody penalty. There was 4 other penalties before me, but everybody always mentions my penalty again, because I suppose everybody remembers it. But yeah, I just, like this flipping, think about it now, there's still goosebumps in my hands and arms, and just one night, and me scoring that penalty give all those people that joy. Just like, you can't replicate that. You know what I mean? It's something that it's hard to explain. You've got kids, and you get to see your kids born, and but to actually feel something like that where it's just all at once, and it's mental, man. It's just goosebumps all over me, all over my arms and back of my neck, kind of thing. So it just definitely that goal. I have to say it was that goal, yeah, because of kind of what it meant to everybody.
Well, yeah, thanks again, Colin, for coming on tonight, mate. Really do appreciate you taking your time.
Hey, Mark, really enjoyed it again. And anytime, just give us a shout, pal. Be more than happy to pop back on again and have a chat.
So, what would your final message be to Mansfield fans? Because I'm sure a lot of Stag fans will be watching this. So, what would your last message for them to be?
Keep the faith. You'll be back in the stands soon, where you all want to be, cheering on. And I think getting them fans back in first is you need that first and foremost, because when them fans are in that stadium and they're singing and they're making noise, it's a real intimidating atmosphere for the other team. And to play there when the fans are on top form as well is not better. It's a brilliant place. But definitely good times ahead. Keep the faith and, just push on up that league. Anybody who wants to give me a shout on, social media, give me a shout. I'll message them back. So, again, I love my time at Mansfield. I know it didn't end very well, but apart from that one bit, I've got nothing but good feelings for Mansfield, and I always wish them the best. And I always look out for them. They're always one of my team results that I look out for. So again, just when I do come down, welcome me back. They'll be shouting, "Oh, you went for spy rights." I do get that. You got that occasionally, but it was all tongue in cheek. So, but yeah, just again, Mark, thanks for having me on tonight. I've loved it. It's been great reminiscing and remembering.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, mate. Yeah, appreciate it. I mean, it's tough to get, obviously, a tough time, obviously, at the minute, like, so, just appreciate anyone coming on, really, to be honest.
yeah, definitely, mate. Like you said, if you want any more lads, just reach out to them. They'd be more than happy to do it, man. Even if it's a case of they just want to come on and just talk about old times, because I really loved it tonight. I really, really, really enjoyed it. Because it's sometimes you don't get to do it often enough, and your career, it's a short career, and it goes by so fast, and before you know it, you're like your dad, and his son hasn't watched me play football. He doesn't know, so it's I'm just dad and just football coach. Whereas my older daughter, she's like, my dad was a player kind of thing, so she remembers it because she'd been to games and stuff. So lads would definitely love to go on and reminisce, man. I'm telling you, just reach out to them.
Yeah, we'll do our best, and hopefully. But yeah, anyway, mate, best of luck with your coaching. Hopefully, we'll see it at Mansfield, and obviously,
you never know, Mark. Hopefully, see you later, mate.
Right, take care, mate.
Bye bye. Thank you. Bye bye.